Bullies forced the cyborg boy to crawl in the dirt, until one human said, "Watch this." Beginning, the boy in the dust. The settlement of Red Rock Colony sat on the jagged plains of New Terra, a frontier world halfway between civilization and the stars. Its streets were red with iron dust, always swirling in the air like a storm that never rested. Out here, colonists struggled to survive the raw elements, ration water, and endless labor. In this harsh life lived a boy named Kale Draven, half human, half machine. Kale had been born weak, his organs failing by the time he was 6. His father, a mechanic, bargained away his savings to pay for experimental cybernetic grafts. Now Kale's lungs were steel, his eyes glowed with faint circuitry, and his left arm was more alloy than flesh. He could breathe in the choking storms of Red Rock, see farther than any colonist, and lift loads heavier than most adults. But to the other children, none of that mattered. To them, he was a freak. At the edge of the colony yard, they gathered in groups. Torin Vesk, son of a mining boss, leading the pack. Torin's voice was sharp as the whip he carried, his words dripping venom. "Crawl, machine boy," Torin sneered one afternoon, shoving Kale to the ground. The red dust clung to Kale's face as laughter roared around him. "Yeah, crawl like the crawler bots your daddy fixes," another boy jeered. Kale clenched his mechanical hand into a fist, but he didn't fight back. He could crush them easily, but that would only prove their fears, that he wasn't human, that he was dangerous. So he obeyed. He lowered himself to the dirt, the colony yard echoing with taunts, and crawled forward while the other kids cheered Torin on. And that was his life. Crawling when told, hiding in the shadows, avoiding eye contact. Because in Red Rock, there was no mercy for something not fully human. Middle, a human's defiance. The cycle might continue forever, if not for the arrival of Jace Marrow. Jace was new to Red Rock, his family transferring from one of the orbital stations after his mother took a teaching post. He was older than Kale by a year, with storm gray eyes and stance that carried quiet defiance. He wasn't the type to blend in, and the other kids noticed. On Jace's second week, he saw it happen, Torin and his gang circling Kale in the yard again, kicking dust into his face. "Let's see you beg, machine," Torin growled. "Beg, or we'll strip that shiny arm of yours." Kale swallowed hard, about to lower himself again. His chest felt heavy, shame pressing like iron. But before he could move, a new voice cut through the laughter. "Watch this." The crowd turned. Jay stood there, arms crossed, his face calm but his eyes blazing. "You think you're strong, Torin? Picking on one boy." Jay said, "Why don't you try someone who can fight back?" Torin blinked, stunned at the audacity. "What did you say, station rat?" "You heard me." Jay stepped forward. "If you want to shove someone in the dirt, start with me." The yard went silent. No one ever defied Torin, not openly. Torin's lips curled into a smirk. "Fine. You want to play hero? After class. Out back." Jace nodded once. "Deal." Kale stared at him, wide-eyed. No one had ever stood for him before. Not once. That afternoon, as the colony bells rang dismissal, the crowd gathered behind the water towers where fights were usually settled. Kale lingered at the edge, torn between running away and watching. Torin stepped forward, bigger and broader, cracking his knuckles. "This'll be quick." Jace just grinned. "We'll see." The fight began, and to everyone's shock, Jace held his own. He moved differently, his steps sharp and practiced, like someone who trained in station combat drills. Torin swung wildly, but Jace ducked, jabbed, and shoved him off balance. The crowd roared, split between gasps and cheers. And for the first time, Kale felt something stir in his chest. Hope. By the end, Torin stumbled back, nursing a bloody lip. He pointed at Jace, furious. "This isn't over, station rat. You'll regret this." Jace just wiped the dust from his cheek and turned to Kale. "You okay?" Kale froze, unsure how to respond. No one had ever asked him that. "Why, yeah," Kale stammered. "Good," Jace said with a grin. "Because next time you're fighting too. I won't always be here to play shield." Kale blinked. "Me? But I can't." "You can," Jace said firmly. "You just don't believe it yet." Rising tension, the hidden power. Over the next weeks, Jace became Kale's only friend. They trained together after class, away from prying eyes. Jace taught him how to balance his cybernetic arm to fight, how to channel his strength without fear. Your problem isn't power, Jace said one evening as the sun sank over Red Rock's jagged horizon. It's trust. You don't trust yourself, but I've seen what you can do. You're stronger than all of them. Kale shook his head. If I fight back, they'll say I'm dangerous. They'll exile me or worse. Or, Jace countered, they'll finally respect you. But Kale's fears weren't unfounded. The Colony Council had strict laws about augmented humans. Any sign of aggression from Kale could be twisted as proof he was more machine than boy. Still, something changed. With Jace's encouragement, Kale stopped crawling. When Torin jeered, Kale stared back instead of lowering his head. The bullies noticed, and their hatred deepened. Then came the raid. It was late one night when alarms blared across Red Rock. A gang of Sky Raiders, scavengers armed with plasma cutters and hoverbikes, descended from the cliffs. They stormed the supply depot, set fires, and dragged colonists into the dirt. The colony guard was outnumbered. Panic spread fast. Kale and Jace were caught near the yard when the raiders charged in. Torin and his friends scattered, screaming. One of the raiders lunged at Kale, slamming him into the ground. A shiny one here. The raider laughed, yanking Kale by his metal arm. We'll fetch good credits for this scrap. Fear surged through Kale. He wanted to resist, but the memory of crawling, the colony's rejection, the council's laws, froze him in place. Then he heard Jace's voice. Kale, watch this. Jace hurled a rock into the raider's helmet, shattering its visor. The raider staggered, and Jace grabbed Kale's arm. Fight back now. The words cut through Kale's fear like lightning. Something deep within him roared awake. His cybernetic system surged, circuits glowing brighter than ever. He rose. The raider swung at him, but Kale caught the blow with his alloy hand. Metal clanged against metal. With one motion, Kale twisted and flung the raider across the yard. The man crashed into a wall, groaning. Kale stood frozen, staring at his hand. He had fought back, and he hadn't lost control. Climax. Crawling no more. The battle raged across the colony, and Kale knew he couldn't hide anymore. He and Jace rushed into the fray together, a seamless pair. Jace quick with tactics, Kale unstoppable with raw strength. When the raiders cornered a group of children, Kale stepped in front of them, blocking the blows with his alloy arm. When they tried to breach the water reserves, he ripped their cutter apart with his bare hands. Word spread fast across Red Rock. The Cyborg boy was fighting for them. Finally, Kale faced a raider captain, a towering brute in spiked armor. The man sneered. You're no boy, you're a weapon, and I'll break you. But Kale didn't crawl this time. He planted his feet, dust swirling around him, and met the captain's charge head-on. The fight was brutal, blades sparking against steel, fists pounding like hammers. But Kale's fear had burned away. With one final surge, he drove his alloy fist into the captain's chest plate, shattering it. The raider collapsed in the dust. The rest fled, their hoverbikes screeching into the night. Silence followed. The colonists emerged from hiding, wide-eyed. And for the first time, they didn't look at Kale with fear. They looked at him with awe. Jace clapped him on the shoulder, grinning. Told you, you're stronger than all of them. Ending a new beginning. In the aftermath, the Colony Council met to decide Kale's fate. Some feared his strength, but others couldn't ignore the truth. Without him, Red Rock would have fallen. Torin, still nursing his pride, tried to claim Kale was dangerous, but his words rang hollow in the face of what everyone had seen. Finally, the council leader spoke. Kale Draven is no machine. He is one of us, a protector of Red Rock. For the first time in his life, Kale stood tall without shame. Later, as the two boys sat under the stars, Kale turned to Jace. Why did you help me? That first day, you didn't even know me. Jace shrugged. Because I know what it's like to be treated different. And because I could see who you really were. You just needed someone to remind you. Kale smiled, a small, genuine smile that felt new on his face. Then I'll never forget it. From that day forward, the Cyborg boy no longer crawled in the dirt. He walked tall, side by side with a human who had said, "Watch this." And in Red Rock Colony, a legend was born.